there. God is pro-God. You say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Mark. It's so basic that people miss it. Exodus chapter 20, what's the first commandment? You shall not have any other God before me. And you shall not make any graven image. And you shall not use God's name in vain. Right? See, that is so basic. Let me ask you a question. When you live in a nation and they say you can't talk about God here, do you remember when I showed you the video clip of a school board not far from here? And God was brought up, and the people on the board said, God has no say in this space. Then who does? Whatever idol you put in there, usually yourself, and then eventually that'll turn to government influence. But what I want you to see is God judges nations, and I want you to see specifically the Syrians. How many of you guys remember Jonah, right? Jonah, remember Jonah? So Israel rebels against God. God sends the prophets. They pay no attention to what God says through the prophets. And so God raises up this nation called the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrians come in 722 BC, wipe out the Jewish northern kingdom, carry them off as slaves. Unpleasant, and they're dispersed from Israel throughout the Assyrian Empire. Then God sends Jonah to preach in Nineveh and says, you know what? Your wickedness, your iniquities have become full. I'm gracious. I'm warning you, 40 days, and the city's going to be destroyed, which is the capital city. Nineveh is the capital city of Assyria. And so they repent. Do you remember that? They repent with sackcloth and ashes, and Jonah ends up being upset about it. Well, 100 years later, they end up doing the same sins over again, and God sends another prophet, Nahum, and this is probably one of the areas in the Bible you haven't read much, but notice what Nahum delivers from God. The Lord has issued a command. You might say, does he think he's in charge or something? He is. The Lord has issued a command concerning you. Your name will no longer be perpetuated. I will cut off idol and image from the house of your gods. I will prepare your grave, for you are contemptible to me. So the nation had become contemptible. There was a divine judgment against them. Why? Because of their idolatry, and God was going to cut off their idols. Friends, hear me. God is pro-God, and anytime you raise something up over God, God will attack that God, and there are consequences to that. All other sins flow out of idolatry at some level. Now, you could say, well, we live in America, and there's not idols everywhere. Friends, there are idols everywhere. Every time you and I sin is because of an idol in our own heart, on an individual basis and on a national basis. Some of you have heard me talk about the World Economic Forum, and why they're trying to get us to eat insects and all those sorts of things. And you could say, I just had a guy tell me this the other day. He said, this will never happen in America. Well, I don't know if you've ever been to the Netherlands. It's a beautiful country and so forth. And over the last couple of years, they've been told, the cows just have too much methane gas, which means they're too stinky. Anyways, and so they have to reduce their cow herd. Now, when you reduce your cow herd, you got to feed your kids something. So imagine, what are you going to feed your kids at school? Well, how about mealworms?
Buiten deze heerlijke plantaardige gerechten heb ik namelijk ook een zakje met meelwormen.
Mealworms, ja.
Ja? Oké.
Oh, there they are.
3, 2, 1.
So what's in your lunch? You know what? You guys know me. I have brought mealworms for all of us today. You guys know me, right? No, I didn't do that to you. But the reason I bring it up is because the idolatry of our day, one of the key idols of our day, is to save the world. Depopulation to save the world. Just so you know, God said, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. The other kingdom is depopulate, reduce people on the earth. I'm just telling you, that's just two kingdom worldviews that are in contrast. And part of this in saving this world is we've got to move from cows and pork and things like that to insects. This is actually a form of idolatry. God's pro-God. Second thing, he's pro-Israel. He's going to destroy the Assyrian Empire. Why? Because of their idols. He's going to destroy every nation, ultimately, when their iniquities are full because of idolatry. Second one is Israel. God made a promise in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, that those who would bless Israel, he would bless, and those who would curse, he would curse. Now let me ask you a question. Do you want a curse or a blessing from God? So here's how you get a blessing from God. You bless Israel. You bless the Jewish people. His hand, he's given them a unique place in the history of mankind. But you know what? People are always testing that all through history. Edom did just this very thing and attacked the Israelites, and God sent the prophet Obadiah to them. And what did Obadiah say? Because of the violence of your brother, to your brother Jacob, Israel, you will be covered with shame, and secondly, you will be cut off forever. How many of you know that there's no Edomite nation in the world? There's like 200 countries right now, but there's not an Edomite one. 70 AD, this prophecy was fulfilled. God wiped the Edomites completely off the face of the earth. Why? Because, read Obadiah, they were against Israel. It pays to be pro-Israel for a country and for a person. We see that over and over in the Bible. There's a third thing, and that is